Good afternoon and welcome to the Business News. I'm your host, Jamie Lee. Today in People Who Make a Difference, we visit with Wendy Crawford and celebrate years of volunteerism here in Shawano County. Now we're inside the Shawano Country Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by our special difference maker, Wendy Crawford.
Hello, Jamie.
We've known each other for a very long time, so it's really special that I can tell your story to everyone because you've made a difference in my life. You're an inspiration to so many people in town. Tell us your story. Were you born and raised in Shawano?
I was.
Okay.
I was.
And were you always a volunteer?
I was a volunteer starting in high school. My mom was my mentor. I watched her volunteer for pretty much everything involving church. She was a hospice volunteer and then was with Friends of Hospice, raising funds for the hospice program. So I started volunteering in high school.
So she set kind of that foundation of giving back.
She did.
You moved away to Chicago as a young person to do some schooling, but you came back, fell in love with Sam Crawford, and he has a reputable business here in town, Timber Pro.
Yes.
So that's very successful. But behind the scenes, and they love to give back.
Yes.
But you are giving back behind the scenes with all the different organizations in town. And that's what led us here to the Chamber of Commerce, because you were one of the inspirational people that brought Leadership Shawano County to town. Tell us a little bit more about that program, how it started, and how it's made a difference.
Yeah, early volunteering, it was a stepping stone for me because when I moved back to Shawano, I got involved with the church. That was an obvious place to start with. And then classroom volunteer, and then PTA. Now that I look back on all of the areas in which I volunteered, it brings me into the work that I'm doing with the Boys and Girls Club, for an example. But volunteering got interesting for me when I started working for the Chamber with Leadership Shawano County. Started in 2005, and I did that for 15 years. And as a part of the curriculum for this Chamber program, Leadership Shawano County, community service projects were part of the curriculum. So I worked with many, many different teams, and you get invested when you have an idea, and then you put the teams together, and you raise funds, and you create programs. So part of my job was to get paid to lead these groups. But then when it was time for the Leadership Shawano County class to leave it and graduate, I got invested, and so I stayed on as a volunteer for many of the things that I'm still involved with.
What are some of the main programs that were birthed out of that group work that you led?
Yeah, some of the ones that really have made an impact that exist today that I can be really proud of and say, I had a piece of that. I was at the ground zero building that would be Sundrop Days, which you are very familiar with.
The Sundrop Girl would be here without you, Wendy.
Right? I remember that conversation when we talked about, could you use Sundrop Girl? I'm like, yes,
all
we
works
can.
Together. So Sundrop Days, and then also SAPRO.
SAPRO, the Shawano Area Young Professionals Group, they're doing amazing things, raising their own fundraisers. They worked with Toys for Tots. They've been doing that for several years now, being the toy collector around Christmas, doing a lot of good work. I think this year they had their first Young Professional of the Year award. So
amazing. So the next generation is coming through Shawano. Well, thank you for being a foremother of the Chamber, and let's go visit the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, sounds good.
Now we're inside the Boys and Girls Club located at Ogerbrunner School here in Shawano. This was one of the programs that was implemented through the Shawano Leadership Program. So tell us how this all got started, because it was really needed here in Shawano.
It was. We've been hearing about the need for a Boys and Girls Club in our community for many, many years, but I think when people looked into the process and found out it was a multiple-year, multiple-phase project, that it was just too big. So through Leadership Shawano County, we took a different approach and said, what if class number 1 would take it as far as they can, do all the steps within 9 months, and then turn it over to the next class to take it as far as they can in 9 months. And so 3 classes of Leadership Shawano County were successful in partnering with the Boys and Girls Club of Green Bay, bringing the Shawano charter here, and that started 10 years ago. I've been involved for 10 years before it was even open, but the club was open for 7 years. We had our 7th anniversary in January.
But overall, over the years, you are helping adults with leadership. Now we're helping the youth. It's multi-generational, creating leaders of the future emotionally, with families. So Boys and Girls Club leadership, everything you've done, it's a little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, we're building now the young people, and helping them to create confidence and helping with that social and emotional need. And there is really a big gap with learning. And so we're addressing that as well with programmings and sometimes with one-on-one tutoring. But I remember you said that you were a latchkey kid.
Yes.
And you can think about yourself back in the day that everybody needs a champion. And if you had your grandparents available, big champions for you. But if you don't have that champion at home with a relative or somebody else, you can find that champion here at the Boys and Girls Club. And so that's why I feel really strongly about it.
Okay, Wendy, we've been all over town, and we're ending here at the old train station and talking about future plans for this area. Tell us, what is going on with the Mountain Bay Trail?
Well, I talked earlier about how I get invested in projects, and the very last project that I worked with the Leadership Shawano County class before I retired was the development of Friends of Mountain Bay Trail Group. And it's a spin-off of Pathways, and you're probably familiar with all the good work Pathways has done. But the Friends of Mountain Bay Trail Group, the current project and idea is to take the middle section of this train depot, and when you open up this garage door, there are two-stall bathrooms. And this location that we're in is literally midway on the Mountain Bay Trail. So we're in between Wausau and Green Bay. So we want to focus on midway on the Mountain Bay Trail and to open a trail center that would be open for walkers and bicyclists, because if you're doing that, a little pit stop is good.
Wow.
The idea is to put an outdoor water dispenser, add benches, add some landscaping, but really make this a meeting point where people can come and park their cars and start their walk or their bike ride.
And so all these projects, it's just very inspirational, Wendy. You've done so much. How has all these projects and volunteering made a difference in your life? You help so many people, but how is this helping you?
It's very fulfilling. If you're the type of person who understands process and works with process, but there are such great causes, and you wake up with a purpose, and I'm retired, but I don't want to sit in a rocking chair. That's not my version of retirement, is ever slowing down. It's just being able to continue to use the skills I have and the networking I've developed, really to make our community a better place. And there's not a shortage of causes and programs that you can get involved with.
So a call to action from the leader herself. Wendy, I am so proud of you, proud to know you, proud to learn from you. You are an inspiration, and so glad that we can be friends.
Yeah.
Until next time, this is Jamie Lee and Wendy Crawford signing off for the Business News, reminding you that working with a purpose makes all the difference.
Thank you.